A wrestler leaving it to the very last moment to kick out of a big move sends electricity down your spine like nothing else, besides making love, or so I'm told, and WWE have provided plenty of memorable examples of this over the years. The kickouts, that is, not the lovemaking. A lot goes into a good near fall, the move involved, the stakes of the match, the likelihood of it being the actual finish, and these 10 examples all nailed those traits to a T. I'm Adam Pacitti from Oh no, I've gone down! I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do the list! 1, 2, oh, he's back on his feet! Oh, that was close. But seriously now, I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 best near falls in WWE history. Join us! Number 10, Roman gets rumbled at Royal Rumble 2022. The most recent entry on this list occurred when two former brothers collided in the ring. Seth Rollins was taking on his former Shield BFF Roman Reigns for the Tribal Chiefs Universal Championship in the days before the championship had an official name that took about 15 minutes to spit out. Not only are these two men excellent workers, but Rollins had done a great job at getting inside the head of the table. His mind games made him one of the most believable challengers to Reigns in months, which might be why this extraordinary kickout got such a great response. After countering a spear, Rollins then laid out his adversary with a buckle bomb that transitioned directly into a stomp. He then immediately made the cover, but the champion just about got his arm off the mat to prolong the contest. In that one moment, we were all that red-headed fan with the beard. A great moment from a great match. Let's choose to focus on this instead of that dumb DQ that came right at the end. We'll all be happier for it. Number 9, Beauty from the Beast at Survivor Series 2018. Brock Lesnar is one of the best kick-outers in all of wrestling. Okay, let me rephrase that actually. Brock Lesnar is one of the best kick-outers in all of wrestling when he can be bothered. There, that's better. He was most definitely bothered against Daniel Bryan in their champion versus champion match at Survivor Series 2018. Bryan had just won the WWE title by hoofing AJ Styles in the plums, setting up a rather intriguing heel versus heel match for the event. Lesnar showed his dominance during the battle, except for one moment where it looked like WWE might just have chosen the upset. After the referee went down, Bryan went to the well once again and planted Lesnar right in his next big things, which he followed up with a running knee. But this wasn't enough to put Brock down, as the Beast kicked out at the last possible millisecond. D-Bry had the credibility to realistically beat Lesnar, especially if he had cheated to do so. Also, a big win over the Universal Champion would have been a great way to cement his recent heel turn. Better luck next time, Dragon. Number 8, SANTI-NO at Elimination Chamber 2012. 6 or so years before he nearly floored the streak breaker, Daniel Bryan was almost beaten himself by a very unlikely candidate. As the final pay-per-view before WrestleMania 28, Elimination Chamber offered one last chance for somebody to beat Bryan and carry the World Heavyweight title into the big event. The champ was defending against 5 other men inside the titular structure, where the match came down to himself and longtime comedy jobber Santino Marella. In a moment nobody saw coming, Santino pulled out his trusty Cobra and struck Bryan with it. Up to this point, nobody had ever kicked out of the Cobra. Surely, even WWE weren't mad enough to have Santino go into WrestleMania as world champ. And they weren't. In the end, they didn't pull the trigger on Santino, but you would be lying if you said that you didn't buy into this finish, even if just for a split second. In an utterly baffling statistic, Bryan remains the only person in the history of WWE to be shown kicking out of Santino's finishing move. Number 7, HBK'S gold medal kickout at WrestleMania 21. Honestly, we could have filled this list entirely with moments from the grandest stage of them all, but that is a different list for a different day. So instead, we've cherry-picked just a few of the greatest false finishes from across WrestleMania's illustrious history, starting with this gem from Mania 21. In one of the greatest Mania matches of all time, Shawn Michaels took on Kurt Angle in a battle of style versus substance. Sports entertainment versus pro wrestling, milk versus whatever the hell Shawn was putting into his body in the late 90s. Just one of the highlights of this epic encounter disaster came when Michaels ascended to the top rope and quick as a flash, Angle jumped up behind him, caught HBK in an angle slam position and dropped the showstopper all the way to the mat below. This had to be the finish, right? Wrong, you bloody mark. At the last possible second, Michaels powered out of the super move, leaving everybody in a state of shock. Kicking out of a finisher is one thing, but a top rope finisher? Beautiful madness. Number 6, Jack fights back at Royal Rumble 2000. During Triple H's early days as a main eventer, he could have hit a bloody T-Rex with a pedigree and it would have stayed down for a 3 count. The move was protected as all hell, despite the Ultimate Warrior's best efforts a few years earlier, which is why it was truly special to see Mick Foley overcome it at the 2000 Royal Rumble. As part of their legendary street fight, Foley as Cactus Jack was laid out with the game's finisher right after eating a back body drop onto some thumbtacks. Then, just as it looked like the end, Jack somehow denied Trips the victory as the Madison Square Garden crowd went bonkers. He did then eat a pedigree face first into a bunch of tacks, so maybe he should have just stayed down. But still, not only did this make Foley look like a beast, but it also made Triple H even more of a heel for resorting to such fiendish tactics to put his opponents away. This was a fantastic moment that was beloved by everyone. Well, besides Mick's wife anyway. She probably wanted it to end as quickly as possible. Fair play. Number 5, Cena finds his edge at New Year's Revolution 2006. Though it's part of the furniture nowadays, there was a time where people weren't so sure about this whole Money in the Bank thing and how it would work out. Thankfully though, the first cash-in was so good that everybody's fears just went away. John Cena successfully retained his WWE Championship in a bloody and brutal Elimination Chamber match at New Year's Revolution 2006. Unfortunately for Big Match John, the celebrations didn't last long, as who should come out but briefcase holder Edge. After Mr. McMahon explained what was going on like he was some sort of tutorial in a video game, Edge cashed in for the first time ever and we had ourselves a world title match. Cena was an exhausted mess who had just outlasted 5 other competitors in a brutal match. Surely he would fall to the very first spear Edge hit him with. Well, clearly you don't know your Cena. The champ somehow kicked out of the initial attack, adding a great layer of uncertainty to the moment. Had Edge just made a huge mistake? Should he have waited for another moment? Was he going to... Oh, wait, he's just hit another spear and won. Fantastic stuff. Number 4, punked out at Money in the Bank 2011. Sticking with Johnny Boy for now, and that time an entire city was desperate to see him lose. Actually, that probably happened a lot of times through Cena's run, but we are talking about Chicago in this particular instance. The now iconic main event of Money in the Bank 2011 pitted WWE Champion John Cena against challenger and all-round naughty boy CM Punk. The straight edge superstar's contract was up at midnight, meaning that if he won, he would be taking the WWE title with him. This was WWE's chance to do something genuinely interesting for the first time in a while, so naturally fans were nervous that Cena was just gonna win and sweep the whole thing under the rug. So imagine how frightened everyone was then when the champ hoisted Punk up on his shoulders and hit a second AA. Thankfully, the wrestling gods were smiling down on us that day because the hometown hero managed to escape defeat right at the final moment. Not only is it a perfectly executed near fall, but the reaction from the nuclear crowd was loud enough to be heard from space. Number 3, kicking out with Styles at SummerSlam 2016. The third installment in our accidental trilogy of John Cena moments took place at the 2016 edition of SummerSlam. Cena had been embroiled in a dream feud with AJ Styles, and the pair were tied up at 1 victory apiece. Now was the time to settle the score once and for all. Wow, that was dramatic. Should do movie trailers. Much like with Punk 5 years earlier, fans were desperate to see AJ win. A loss to Cena on such a huge stage had the potential to do much damage to the former TNA man and ruin what had been a pretty decent run in the promotion up to that point. Knowing that they had the audience in the palm of their hands, WWE decided to muck around with our collective emotions by having Cena hit Styles with a top rope AA. Right, that's it. Match is over. Everybody burn your AJ Styles t-shirts and oh my god, he just kicked out! The incredible nature of this near fall, combined with Cena's prolonged reaction to it, transformed transformed this entire match into an instant classic. Oh, and guess what? AJ actually won the whole thing. Clean, too. Sometimes dreams do come true. Number 2, that Undertaker face at WrestleMania 25. Like with Money in the Bank 2011, I really don't need to talk about Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker from WrestleMania 25 any more than I already have. It is, of course, widely regarded as one of the best matches of all time, and yeah, it bloody well should be. There's only so many more times I can talk about Sim Snooker letting The Undertaker almost plant himself into the earth like a tree. But what I can talk about is one of the finest near falls in the history of our great sport. As HBK tried to skin the cat to get back in the ring, Taker took advantage and got him in position for a tombstone. He hit the move, crossed Shawn's arms, but that still wasn't enough for a 3. The setup to this moment, HBK's selling of it, and the overall quality of the match all help make this moment special, but what really takes it over the edge is the classic face that Undertaker pulled right after it. His look of "seriously, are you kidding me?" exemplifies just how incredible this moment was and will live on in meme form for the rest of time. Number 1, the streak lives at WrestleMania 28. The end of an era Hell in a Cell match between Triple H and The Undertaker at WrestleMania 28 was the culmination of a 4-year-long story between the Dead Man and DX. Not only was this the sequel to Trips vs. Taker from the year before, but it also tied up the Taker-Michaels matches from the years before that, as HBK was the special guest ref. I'm sure he'll remain perfectly impartial toward the man who cost him his career, eh? In a moment so obvious a fetus could have predicted it, Michaels sided with the game and tried to help him beat the Phenom. Triple H countered a tombstone by pushing Taker right into the path of Sweet Chin music. He then hit the pedigree to surely seal the deal and finally bring the mighty streak to an end. And then The Undertaker kicked out. Even with help from his best friend, even with 2 separate finishers, Triple H couldn't put his nemesis away. For capturing so much emotion and history within the space of about 10 seconds, this has to be the best near fall in the history of WWE and maybe even wrestling as a whole.